we're going to do a plant dissection, and I wanted to give you some instruction on how to do that. First of all, I'm going to give each group a flower because we are going to look at the male and female reproductive organs of this lily. The first part we're going to look at is the sepals. Now you'll notice inside there are on this plant there are 6 petals, okay? Some of them are really colorful, and there's some on the outside that aren't quite as colorful, okay? These ones on the outside that aren't quite as colorful, those are the sepals. So I'm going to carefully take a sepal off and lay it on my piece of white paper because I'm going to take a picture of that when all my pieces are done. So first of all, carefully take off the sepals, and you may want to pinch them with your finger so you don't break the inside parts of the plant, okay? So carefully take off the sepals. After you take off the sepals, you're going to see the petals, and the petals are usually much more colorful and they attract the insects to the plant. Very carefully pinch off the petals. Don't just pull them off because you're going to break the reproductive organs inside. Put one petal next to the sepal on your example sheet. These other pieces will be thrown in the garbage can. Okay? After you remove the petals, now you're going to actually be able to see the male and the female parts of your flower. The male parts are a little bit longer. I'm going to remove that leaf just so it's out of my way. The male parts of the flower should have an anther, which contains the pollen, and a filament, which is the long tube. And together, this part is called a stamen. Put one of the stamens, carefully pinch it off, and take one of the stamens that has the filament and the anther and lay that on your dissection example piece of paper. You're going to take a picture of that when you're done. Now sometimes the stamens have the anthers fall off. So you have to be very careful because it's very hard, or it's very easy to mistaken the female part of the flower for a stamen that lost its anther. But the female part is right in here, and if you notice, it's much shorter than the other ones. So I'm going to very carefully take off the stamens. I'm going to pinch them off so I don't break that pistil that's the female part in the middle. I hope you can see that. See, there's the stamens longer. The pistil is on the very inside, and it's usually shorter. So here's the pistil, or the female part of the plant. At the very tip is the stamen, or the stigma, and the stigma is the sticky part. So when the bees come, they go to the one flower, and some of the pollen that's in this anther will rub on their wings. Then the bees will come over to the next plant, and this pollen will be on their wings, and it'll rub against that stigma, which is sticky, and then pollen will stick to the plant. After the pollen sticks to the plant, the pollen makes a tube, and it goes all the way down this tube, which is called the style. So you have the stigma on top and the style. And if we very carefully pinch at the bottom of that style, I kind of break it in half sideways, okay? You're going to follow it down, and you're going to be able to see the ovary, and inside the ovary we have ovules, or eggs. So pollination happens when the pollen from that anther of another plant, or maybe the same plant, hooks to the stigma. It grows a tube all the way down this style that leads to the ovaries. Then it opens up, and the sperm that's in the pollen goes down that tube, and it fertilizes these eggs. And those eggs will grow into mature seeds. And after the eggs are fertilized, the petals will fall off the flower because it no longer needs them. So it won't put any resources into keeping these beautiful petals anymore, and they are done flowering. So also put your female reproductive organ on your sheet of paper. And what you're going to do next is take a picture of those reproductive parts, and then you're going to label the sepal, the petal, the stamen, which has an anther and the filament tube on it. You also are going to label the pistil, which is the female reproductive organ. And on the top of the pistil, we have the sticky stigma for the pollen. We have the style that leads down to the ovary. Let's see if I can get a better picture of the ovary. And you'll label the ovary, and inside of that are the ovules, or the eggs. So take this picture, put it into your assignment on Schoology, and label the male and the female parts of that flower.